Welcome back to episode 2 of Adventure Kings Presents A Beginner's Guide to Camping. I'm your host Brenno, and I've been lucky enough to make my passion for camping and outdoor adventure my entire life. Now there's a good chance that you're watching this series because you're keen to give camping a go for yourself. If so, then let me say welcome, and I'm glad that you've found us. Here at Adventure Kings, we make two things: incredible quality, highly affordable camping and four-wheel drive gear, and cracking tips and techniques videos to help you get the most out of them. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that this is episode 2 in our Beginner's Guide to Camping series. Now, in case you haven't seen episode 1, I highly recommend that you go back to the beginning and watch that episode. In episode 1, I talk about 3 statements that I genuinely believe to be true about camping. Now, I won't go into detail about them in this episode for those who've already seen episode 1, but if you haven't seen episode 1, do yourself a favor, click the link in the description. It's all right, I'll wait. Okay, back? Great. Now you know the 3 things that I genuinely believe to be true about camping: that camping doesn't mean roughing it, that camping should be fun, and that camping has come a seriously long way in the last couple of years. And in this episode, we're going to talk about camping accommodation, and you'll see exactly what I mean. This episode will talk about tents, rooftop tents, and swags in detail. Okay, let's get stuck into it. But before I get right into the things this episode, do me a favor, take a moment to hit the subscription button and the notification bell, because the more positive feedback I get about the videos that I make, the more opportunity I get to make videos like this. So the key to an amazing camping experience is to start with the basics, and that means sorting out your camping accommodation. Thankfully, the days of cramped, claustrophobic tents that take forever to put up are long gone, and these days there are so many options on the market. Let's break them down into 3 distinct categories: freestanding tents, rooftop tents, and swags. There are of course more options like camper trailers and caravans that offer an incredible camping experience too, but for the moment we'll focus on these first 3. So everyone's camping accommodation needs will differ depending on the number of heads in your camping crew, the length of time that you're going camping, and even where you're going camping. What's right for one person isn't going to be right for the next, but once you're armed with the information that you need, then you'll be able to make the choice for yourself. So let's take a detailed look at freestanding tents, rooftop tents, and then swags, and I'll run through each option's strong points and relative drawbacks. So when you think camping accommodation, the first thing generally you think is the traditional freestanding tent. They're synonymous with camping. Tent technology has advanced a seriously long way these days, and there are heaps of different styles of tents available, from cramped, basic dome tents that are really only good for the most basic, bare-bones style of cut-price camping, through to fold-out tents with integrated frames that are incredibly quick to set up, right through to something like this, a tent that attaches to the side of a portable camping gazebo. So there are many benefits to using a freestanding tent as your camping accommodation, such as their freestanding ability doesn't tie your vehicle to your campsite, meaning you can set your tent up and then drive elsewhere, whether it's to collect firewood, find a fishing spot, or do a day trip to go exploring. Most modern tents are relatively quick to set up, and ease of setup should be one of the high priorities if you're looking at a tent. Tents are fantastic for families or large camping crews as they offer the most amount of space. Many tents these days are so big that you can easily stand upright in them. That puts an end to awkwardly rolling about on your bed trying to get changed lying on your back. Modern tents are comparatively lightweight compared to the bulky old heavy canvas tents of days gone by. That means they're easy to transport, store, and set up. Tents generally have doors and windows on all sides, which allows you to adjust how protected you are from the elements, or on the other hand, how much airflow you let in on a hot day. So some potential downsides to using a freestanding tent as your camping accommodation may be the need to separately carry your mattress or stretcher and your bedding. Unlike a rooftop tent or a swag, a freestanding tent is simply the outer shell. Once it's set up, it's up to you to then make your beds up inside. That also means that you'll need additional storage space in your car somewhere for sleeping bags, mattresses, and pillows, which are all bulky items. And that means that of all 3 of the camping accommodations we're talking about today, a tent is generally the slowest to set up and pack away. Now let's take a look at stepping up your camping experience literally to a rooftop tent. Now I'll say from the outset that I've done heaps of camping in all 3 options, and my favourite way to camp is definitely a rooftop tent. So the big benefits to camping in a rooftop tent are as follows: just how quick they are to set up. There are a couple of different styles of rooftop tents, with the quickest setting up in under 30 seconds, and even the fold-out style rooftop tents only taking a couple of minutes max. When you've pulled up to a beautiful campsite and you just want to get the fire going, kick back and take it all in, you'll be happy you're in a rooftop tent. With a rooftop tent, the mattress and your bedding is generally stored inside the rooftop tent. That not only speeds up the setup process, because it means not having to make your bed up once the rooftop tent is set up, but it also frees up substantial room within your vehicle while you're traveling. For those who don't love the thought of creepy crawlies, it can definitely be comforting to know that you're up off the ground and away from them in a rooftop tent. On hot or cold nights, being away from the ground also lets you avoid the worst of the heat or the cold. When it's hot, you'll often find a beautiful breeze blowing up through your rooftop tent that you just wouldn't get on the ground. And finally, I reckon there's nothing like the view that you get from your rooftop tent. Waking up to views like this just can't be beat. And some potential downsides to rooftop tent camping may be that they add additional height to your vehicle, meaning that you may not be able to park in your garage or underground car parks at the shops whenever the rooftop tent is fitted. They weigh anywhere between 50 kilos and 90 kilos depending on the style of rooftop tent, which means it's not really practical to fit them and remove them in between trips unless you've got a couple of strong mates to help. But really the only downside that I find, waking up in the middle of the night needing the dunny, and that mental game laying there for 20 minutes trying to convince myself to just get over with it and climb down the ladder. So the third and final type of camping accommodation that we're going to compare in this video is the mighty swag. Now if you're claustrophobic, do yourself a favour. Don't just immediately shy away from this idea, because modern swags are a whole lot more than just a bit of canvas pulled over your head. So the benefits you'll experience when you're swag camping are as follows. They're so quick to set up, taking in most cases just a couple of minutes to be fully set up. Again, I reckon that's such a vital quality in camping accommodation. I hate the idea of missing happy hour and a beautiful sunset because I'm trying to put up an overcomplicated tent. Like with the rooftop tent, the mattress is stored inside the swag and rolled away when you pack it up. In many cases, you can also leave your bedding, including your pillows, inside your swag when you pack it up to save space inside your car and cut right down on setup and pack up time even further. Unlike a rooftop tent, the major benefit to a swag is that you just strap it to your roof rack or chuck it in the back of your car, and when you come home, you just unpack it and store it in the garage until next time. Your car still fits in the garage. Modern double swags are simply huge. Just take a look at the size of them. There's more than enough space here for a couple and even enough room for your littlies if they're young. And if you're a family, especially with older teenagers, then having a swag each is a perfect way to add a little bit of space whenever you're camping. And the potential downsides to swag camping could be, even though modern swags are huge, they may still feel claustrophobic to some people. You're down on the ground in a swag, which means you'll feel the hard rocky ground in some places, and in others you'll feel the cold or the damp. So that is by no means a definitive list of the relative pros and cons of each of the three different types of camping accommodation, but it is a pretty good broad guide. And the beautiful thing is, like I said before, what matters to you may not matter to someone else, and what works for you may not work for someone else. Everyone has their own needs that suit their own particular style of camping. It's all about arming yourself with the right information so you can make the right choice for you. And with that, I reckon we've come to the end of episode 2 of Adventure Kings Presents A Beginner's Guide to Camping. Now, if you like this episode, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell, because the more positive feedback I get about the videos that I make, the more opportunity I get to make more videos like this. Now, next week in episode 3, we're going to talk everything food and drink storage plus camp cooking. I'll show you how to eat and drink just as well when you're camping as you would when you're at home. It's an absolute cracker and you won't want to miss it. Catch you then.